I appreciate Keshav Kumar for giving me a second chance to come in front of you and say, and I also thank him for all the so many things, nice things he said about me. You feel nice to hear that. I really appreciate this conference and the Department of Philosophy majorly coming out of the way to get into Ambedkar. It's something like Spartacus stealing the fire and coming down and distributing it. Now philosophy is ordinary, it's a concern for all of us, and then we have to engage in praxis. It one stroke, Keshav Kumar has transformed the whole scenario. I am sure the departments in different parts of the country would take the cue from that and then proceed and structurally reconstruct all these old disciplines, which are anyway losing their shine in very many places. That is one thing. Secondly, Ambedkar's perspective has become more and more becoming complicated. It is not simply interpreting the body of writings that Ambedkar has given. Now in the conference itself we have emerged that Dalit perspective, is it the same as the Ambedkar perspective? And there is all kinds of complications will be emerging in that. And then further another cue was said that Ambedkar perspective is the last man's perspective, is a downtrodden's perspective in a general way. So as and when we proceed discussing various topics and so on, things become more and more complicated. Ambedkar will become a matter of concern and a contestation. And this will be expected, and it's a good development. It is not people are misrepresenting and all. It's a good development. And the whole idea of the conference was on the theory of a state. And Professor Lakshman mentioned that we don't have a theory of a state, and we always sort of, there is a huge lacunae and so on. And sometimes it is said we are a feudal state, sometimes a semi-feudal state, and some capitalist state, liberal state, and neoliberal state. All these things do have some truth. No, it's not that they are absolutely bad. But still, in the course of the conference, we are trying to find out what emerges is, if we as Ambedkarites and people concerned with Ambedkar find that our society is basically casteist, Brahmanical casteist, we cannot absolve the state saying that is a different thing altogether. Man becomes an IAS or judge and so on, he operates in a very sort of pure rational sense and so on. It is more and more, becoming clear that planning process, conception process, and the, various implementation of programs, caste sort of intervenes. That is why we say the caste principle still continues to determine the state itself. See, for a long time we thought the society is communal and the state is not communal. And Gujarat had to take place in order to, for some people, they say the state is interfered. We should not be like those chickens, put their head down and then they said nothing is true. Academics is, you should start academics with open eyes. With open eyes beyond what we see in front of us in the reading and writing. You see, then we will find flooded with the plethora of problems and so on with people, and that is where the people articulating the problems will sort of change academics in this country. Somewhere we may have to establish a nexus and a negotiation with the larger masses. Binaries and non-binaries and modernity, post-modernity, centering, decentering, structuralism, post-structuralism, and so on. I'd like to point out only one thing on this. All binaries are not same, not of the same order. Caste versus castelessness is also a binary, and it is not the same as Brahmanism and Dalitism. You see, that is apart from that. All these epistemological stances are not without their power relations. For some, a binary presentation would lead him towards his vested interest. In order to diffuse that, somebody else might come and say, reality is plural, fragmented, there is no centered and all that. You see, these two ways of looking at it and several other ways of looking at it is not that one period has passed and another period has come. They all represent the class interests of various groups of people. I think this is one point I like to mention. And fine, the last point, I'll finish in 2 minutes, I think 1 or 2 more minutes. There are two lacunae in the whole conference. I said, you see, that is because we took Ambedkar's perspective as a perspective, meaning that what he did in his life, what he could do, and so on. But moving forward, the minorities, how do they feel about the state and the freedom and unfreedom? It is increasingly becoming highly problematic, for example, to live as a Muslim in this country, or to live even as a Christians in the country. And state is deeply implicated in that. State is deeply implicated in that. But much, much more than all this, I am coming from the Northeast. If state and unfreedom, state and repression means anything at all, it is from the Northeast. I think there are some students even in Keshav's department who could have been persuaded to see something about. For the last 50 years, it is military that is pervasive in ruling. There is absolutely, there's a very, we are all trying to interpret, apparently the state is initiating, promoting freedom, but we try to interpret saying that state is not really initiating freedom, but it is inducing unfreedom. But there it is for all of them to open to see. And that has been, the scenario has been going on for the last 50 years. And an Ambedkar right perspective will have to include that also. Thank you very much.